Jenna was at home, lying in bed with her phone in her hand. She had just returned from a long, exhausting day at work, feeling drained. The moment she opened her messages, a notification from Mark's ex-girlfriend, Lily, appeared. She had tried to ignore it at first, brushing it off as something harmless, but the uneasy feeling gnawed at her as she read the message. "Hey, I was thinking about you today. Hope you're doing well," she frowned. Lily had always been a little too friendly for comfort. She hadn't thought about the ex in months, and now, seeing this message, a knot formed in her stomach. The urge to ask Mark about it wasn't something Jenna could easily ignore, but she did. She knew better than to make a scene over something that might not even mean anything. But the message lingered in her mind. The conversation that didn't happen the next day, as Jenna got ready for work, she couldn't shake the unease. Mark had been acting strangely lately, distant, distracted. When she asked him about Lily, he brushed it off with a nervous laugh. "Oh, she's just being friendly. Nothing to worry about," Jenna nodded, not fully convinced but choosing to drop it. She trusted him, or at least, she wanted to. But trust had a way of becoming fragile when you noticed the small things. The missed calls, the way he checked his phone more often when she was around, and the subtle shift in his tone whenever Lily's name came up. Weeks passed, and Lily's messages continued, now almost daily. Jenna felt her suspicions grow. She tried to convince herself she was overthinking things, that it was just friendly banter, but something in her gut told her otherwise. One evening, after a particularly strange interaction between her and Mark, where he had seemed a bit too guarded, Jenna couldn't resist any longer. She decided to check his phone. What she found shocked her. Text messages between Mark and Lily from late nights, secrets hidden in their words, flirtations veiled behind simple exchanges. Jenna's heart sank. "I miss the way we used to laugh together," one of the messages read. Her hands shook as she read more. This wasn't innocent. This was a lie. Later that night, Jenna decided to confront Mark. When she showed him the texts, his face went pale. For a moment, there was silence, awkward, thick silence, like the calm before a storm. Mark's first response was denial. "It's nothing, Jenna. Really. She's just an old friend." But the truth was there, staring at her from the screen. It was obvious now. Mark had been hiding something from her, something far more than just friendly conversations. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jenna asked, her voice breaking. "Why hide it?" Mark avoided her gaze, his hands fidgeting. "I didn't think it was important. You know I love you. There's nothing between us." Jenna could see the cracks in his words, the desperation to hold on to his version of the truth. As days passed, Jenna's mind couldn't stop replaying everything. The way Mark acted around her when Lily was brought up, the lies he tried to weave, the way his guilt showed through the cracks of his excuses. It became clear, Mark wasn't just talking to Lily, he was emotionally invested in her. Jenna started to feel like a stranger in her own relationship. She felt like she was competing for Mark's attention, and the worst part was he didn't even know he was doing it. She had given everything to him, and yet, all along, he had been living in the shadows of his own deceit. It wasn't just the messages that hurt, it was the constant mental and emotional manipulation. Mark had a way of making her feel like she was crazy for being upset, for questioning his loyalty. It was like he had mastered the art of guilt-tripping her into believing she was overreacting, making her second-guess everything. But Jenna had had enough. One evening, she sat down, staring at the mess of emotions she had allowed herself to drown in. She had spent so many months putting Mark's needs and feelings before her own, afraid of confronting the truth. But now, she realized something. She had lost herself. She was a shadow of the person she used to be, constantly questioning her worth, constantly trying to prove she was enough. Jenna's phone buzzed. Another message from Lily. She looked at it, then placed her phone down. A cold, quiet resolve settled in her chest. That was the final straw. She didn't need to see any more of Mark's lies, or hear any more empty apologies. With trembling hands, she packed her bags and walked out the door. The air felt different, lighter, as if she were shedding a weight she had carried for too long. Mark's voice called after her as she closed the door, but she didn't look back. Jenna moved on with her life, slowly but surely. It wasn't easy. The memories of Mark's manipulation, the way he had twisted everything around, still haunted her. But each day, she grew stronger. She reconnected with her friends, rediscovered her passions, and found pieces of herself that she had buried for too long. She had learned that her worth was never tied to Mark's affection or approval. The most important lesson Jenna learned was simple. She could love, but she could never lose herself in another person again. And Mark, he eventually reached out, asking for forgiveness. But Jenna didn't need it. She had forgiven herself. In the quiet moments when Jenna reflected on everything she had gone through, she realized that healing was not about forgetting. It was about finding herself again, about recognizing that she deserved more than the toxic love Mark had given her. And though it had taken a long time, Jenna was finally free.